Oh, gonna blow it up. It's a little tiny. Oh, there we go.
Put us on the record, Shannon.
Okay.
So Mr. Baranski and his client is with him, and we're waiting for Mr. Moore's audio connection. Looks like we have it. Mr. Moore, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're scheduled for trial now. I see both parties have filed trial briefs, which I've had a chance to review. So Mr. Moore, you are the plaintiff. That means you go first in terms of presenting your proofs in support of the judgment of divorce. Do you have any witnesses you intend to call other than yourself?
No, sir.
All right. Well, before I put you under oath, Mr. Baranski, is there anything preliminary from your perspective?
No, Your Honor. You're just gonna go straight into testimony. That's fine. Yeah, I have no.
Okay, very good. Mr. Moore, raise your right hand, please. You do swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Okay, you can put your hand down. State your full name, please.
Jason Sean Moore.
Mr. Moore, let me just get some stuff out of the way so I don't forget about it. You filed a complaint for divorce, looks like a little over a year ago. Actually, exactly a year ago.
Exactly, Your Honor.
Yes, sir.
Exactly a year ago. Was everything in that complaint true at the time that you filed it?
Yes, sir.
And is it still true today?
Yes, sir.
It appears that there were two minor children. There are two minor children born or adopted during your marriage to Ms. Baranski. Is that correct?
No, that would be me, Your Honor. I'm Baranski. This would be Nicole Morris.
Well, I looked at the name on the screen, so my apologies. I end up doing that a lot without really thinking. So let me try that again. During your marriage to Ms. Moore, there were two minor children that were born. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. And as I remember, a son and a daughter. What are their names?
Andrew and Olivia.
To your knowledge, is Ms. Moore pregnant?
No, sir.
Is there any possibility of the two of you reconciling?
No, sir.
Okay, so it would appear from reading your briefs that we have a number of things in dispute. The most important from the court's perspective are custody and parenting time. What parenting time schedule are the two of you currently observing?
Right now we're week on, week off with Olivia. Andrew's supposed to be every other weekend, but right now, due to the circumstances, he's refusing to go.
Putting aside his refusal to go, what parenting time arrangement are you asking the court to order as a ongoing arrangement?
Well, this is the deal. I put out a judgment in August, and we were all in compliance at the pretrial. And after the pretrial, they decided they wanted to change some things. And
I object about you getting into negotiations that are inadmissible in rules of evidence as to what we did or did not do. The issue obviously don't agree, and here we are.
This is very relevant in my opinion.
I understand, but Mr. Baranski's objection is that the proposed consent judgment was something that was part of an ongoing settlement conversation. And under the rules of evidence, settlement discussions are inadmissible in court. Now, I can use that consent judgment at least as a springboard for what I do, if it's what you would like to have happen, but I can't really take testimony as to whether or not somebody said they were going to do it or wasn't going to do it. That's all settlement conversation, and it's not admissible. So are the custody and parenting time provisions in that consent judgment what you're asking the court to order after receiving proofs in this matter?
No, I would like to at this time I would like to go with the attorney ad litem's recommendation.
All right, so you'd like primary physical custody of both children and every other weekend reasonable rights of parenting time for mom.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
My whole problem with the situation is she's having trouble getting back and forth to school. When she's with me, she goes to school great. She has a great day at school. She goes in pleasant. She comes out more than pleasant. And Nicole, as of just last night, is telling me that she can't get her to go to school. She hates it. She cries. It doesn't happen that way at my home. So I'm just trying to do what's best for her. And
where do your
I want to give Miss Moore. I'm sorry.
Where do your children attend school?
Eaton Rapids. Andrew attend.
Are they meeting virtually currently, or are they actually attending school?
Olivia goes full-time in person and Andrew's virtually.
And has Olivia been in person this entire school year?
Yes, every time she's with her mom, she misses time. She's late. And it's a charter school, so it cost me, over $250 a month for her to attend that school. And not only that, it's very imperative that she gets the schooling that is provided.
What grade is she in?
Pre-K.
What are her school hours?
7:40 to 3 p.m.
When she's with you, how does she get to and from school?
I take her to and from.
And what's the name of this charter school?
Island City Academy.
And how far is that from your home?
About 15 miles.
And what grade is your son in?
10th grade.
And what school does he attend?
Eaton Rapids High School.
How is he doing in school?
Much better now. He had a rough start with the virtual learning, but we've reached out for some help here and there, and he's doing much better now.
What's your understanding of why he was struggling with that earlier?
Well, he does pretty good in just about every subject except for math. He has a hard time in math. I as well had a hard time in math. He's in algebra now. It's a very difficult subject, and the online learning was just not working for him. But they got some new programs going that he's working with, and it's helping a lot. So I'm losing internet. Okay, I think I got you back. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you all along. Are you doing this over a computer or over your phone?
Computer.
I noticed there is some delay. It is possible that I could just keep your computer image on the screen, have you mute and turn down your volume, and get you on the phone so that we don't have that delay.
I can try.
Why don't you give me the speaker and microphone controls on your computer should be in the lower right-hand corner. But what is your phone number before
Yes, sir.
before you change those?
517-242-3397.
Your Honor, if I may,
Yes.
my concern is I don't know if he's there all by himself or if he has someone there who is giving him answers, so to speak. And I wouldn't know that. In the past, he's had his girlfriend there. I could see her in the video. I've seen her in the reflection in the curio cabinet in the back. And I'm just concerned to make sure that that he's testifying of his own knowledge and information and not what someone is feeding him.
I plan to keep the video image up, counsel. I'm just going to change the audio so that we don't have this delay.
Thank you. I misunderstood. Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to try that now. If you don't turn down your audio, we'll get a lot of feedback here. So we want to make sure you know how to do that. Mr. Moore?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
All right, I can hear you on both, so we gotta fix that. How
about now?
I think that's good. We'll be able to avoid that delay. I think that'll work a lot more smoothly.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see. I have more questions to ask about your children, but before I do that, I just want to switch gears and ask about you. Where are you currently employed?
I own my own business, sir. Auto glass. Moore and Sons Auto Glass.
How many employees work there? Is it just you, or do you have other employees?
Just myself.
And is that set up as a sole proprietorship or some other kind of business entity?
Yes, sole proprietorship.
All right, and I know that you have previously provided information regarding your earnings there. I mean, do you pay yourself a salary with the business, or you just live off the profits?
I just live off the profits. I've been fortunate enough to make it through the past couple of years, just living off the profits of the business, trying to grow as much as possible. But due to COVID, it's been a steady struggle.
Are you able to tell me what your annual income is after expenses?
Right now, very little. I mean, I'm drawing unemployment right now because I'm getting very little jobs. Last year was 10,000.
What do you receive in unemployment?
I'm not sure right offhand. I think it's 362 a week or something like that, every other week.
You get paid every week, but it's based on 362 a week?
It's 362 every other week.
Okay. And you receive that in addition to whatever profits you happen to have received for that time period?
Yes, sir.
And you said your business has been impacted by COVID. How long have you been operating this business?
Going on 3 years.
So your total earnings for 2019 wouldn't have been affected by COVID. What was your total income for 2019?
I'm not sure right offhand. But give me 1 second here. Grab some paper.
While he's looking, Mr. Baranski, is that something that you received through Discovery?
Yes, Your Honor, I did. Mr. Moore did return his U.S. individual income tax return for 2019, and his income was set at $18,350.
All right, so when you stepped away, Mr. Moore, I just asked if Mr. Baranski, which I expected would have gotten this in Discovery. So he
Yep, I
has
heard.
a copy of the tax return, so he knows at least what your gross income, what your net income was for IRS purposes for last year. And you're saying it's down now because of COVID?
Yes, sir, drastically. I'm doing next to no business right now. Passenger cars were a very very large part of my business, and I'm not doing any of those right now. My major accounts are doing very little work as far as construction because they're construction accounts. So it's next to nothing as far as.
Where's your place of business located?
I work out of my own home. I'm a mobile service. I work out of my van.
Do you do the windshield repair that the insurance company typically waives the deductible on?
Yes, sir.
Do you replace entire windshields or just do windshield repairs?
Entire windshields.
So you do both?
Yes.
Okay.
I hand cut glass. I do all heavy machinery.
Given that your personal business is struggling, have you explored alternative employment?
Yes, I'm actually at this point looking into it. I picked up another account, so I was hoping that things would increase due to it being FedEx. But things really haven't gone the way I hoped.
Okay, when were you and Ms. Moore married?
September of 2011.
During the course of your marriage, did Ms. Moore work outside of the home?
Yes, sir.
Continually, or what was her pattern?
She had multiple jobs. It was to both our discretion that we agreed that she didn't work for the first couple of years after our children were born, just due to daycare reasons and things like that. But she had many jobs.
So after those first couple of years, she did begin to work outside the home?
Yes, sir.
What sort of occupations did she engage in?
She worked at gas station, grocery store, adult care center, Holiday Inn. She's had multiple jobs. I could say probably at least 10 jobs. She's a very intelligent, capable person.
So over the course of this 9-year marriage, the first 2 years she didn't work. For the last 7 years, are you able to estimate the amount of time during those 7 years that she worked compared with when she was off work?
It's hard to say. I mean, she worked at the adult care home for a couple of years. She worked at family fare for a year. She just, she had problems and with jobs and went in between a little bit here and there. And the only time she took off really was, like I said, when my daughter was born. But there was a lot of issues with her mom being sick and me trying to help her father keep his company afloat.
What is it that caused the breakup of your marriage?
There was a lot of issues with bills, and I caught her talking to a guy that was listed underneath my uncle that had passed away, and I had just had enough of it, and I didn't want to continue with the marriage, and she got extremely upset, and things went really bad.
And so I didn't quite follow you when you said you caught her talking to someone and then something to do with your uncle. I didn't follow that. Can you explain?
My uncle had passed away, and I paid for his phone as well. And I had asked her to shut the phone off. And then I found a message in her phone from my Uncle Randy's phone number. When I looked at it, it was her talking to another man.
Did you confront her about that?
I did. And when I did, she told me that he really liked her and she could talk to him and he listened to her. And I said, okay. And I told her that I was done and I wanted to leave. And it turned into a knockdown, drag-out fight.
Do you remember the date?
No, it was somewhere around April 25th, April 27th.
Of 2019?
Correct. The next day, I left. My oldest son witnessed her leaving the home. She was walking down the street. She didn't come home for 3 days. I didn't hear from her for 3 days. And then she came home trying to hold the house ransom hostage, trying to kick my son out, his fiance out.
Which son is this?
Jason Sean Milligan, my oldest son.
How old is he?
He will be 23.
And that's your son, not a child of the marriage?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct, Your Honor.
So at the time this was happening in April of 2019, your son Jason and his fiance were living in the home with you, your wife, and the other two children?
Yes, sir. My son was back home from Georgia trying to help me build the business.
So you described a knockdown, drag-out fight. Can you give me some details? Who did what? Who said what?
I just told her that I wanted to leave, and she insisted that I talk to her, and I told her I didn't want to talk about it. When I tried getting dressed, she tried to yank my clothes from my hands when I wouldn't let go of them. She started pounding me in the arms and punching me. I tried to leave the room. She attacked me all the way through the living room, punching me in the back of the head. I got her away from me, ended up getting dressed and tried to leave the house. She came out, threw pop bottles at my van window. I tried to come back into the house and just lay down on the couch and get some sleep because I had to work in the morning. And she dumped Kool-Aid all over me and flipped me out of the couch and told me I was going to talk to her no matter what. My mom come out, obviously because of the disruption, tried to, get in between us and try to figure out what was going on. And Nicole attacked my mom, telling her to shut her mouth and mind her business, and pushed her back into her own room.
So your mother lives at the home as well?
Yes, it's my mother's home.
So let me back up just a little bit. You said you were going to leave. Do you mean leave the marriage, or do you mean leave the home?
Leave the home. I told her that I didn't want to be with her no more, that I just couldn't deal with it no more. And I just wanted to leave. And it just went crazy. I didn't want to talk about it, and she insisted we talk about it. It was like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I had to be up at 6 o'clock. So I proceeded to leave the house because she wouldn't quit in the house. I went down to the barn, my pole barn, freezing cold, tried to stay down there. She came down, threw pool balls through the windows. You have all the police, the reports, and the response. In the response, that is.
Yeah. Police reports, lay people have trouble understanding this, but police reports are not admissible because they're considered hearsay. It's a policeman's version of what happened. So you were there. I don't need a police report. I can have you describe what happened, and that's not hearsay. That's clearly admissible testimony.
Yes, sir.
All right, so she threw pool balls through the windows. I'm assuming she broke some windows out when she did that?
Yes, sir.
Do you know how many windows?
Just the 2 front windows in my barn.
Is the barn where you conduct your business?
Yes, sir.
After she threw pool balls through the windows, what did you do?
I just proceeded to pick up the mess and try to close off the window. She left. Me and my son ended up staying the night in the barn.
Which son?
Junior, Jason Moore, or Jason Sean Milligan.
Okay, so anything more happened that evening?
No, I think it escalated 3 days later. Like I said, I went the following morning to try to file a police or a PPO, to try to get her to stop, and that was denied. And like I said, I went back home and she had already left. My son witnessed her leave, and I didn't see her for 3 days after that. But when she came back, like I said, she tried to hold the house hostage and demanded everyone leave. And
well, let me back up just a little. I want to make sure I understand. So you were the one that initially threatened to leave. You did leave in the sense you went out to the pole barn. but the next time you came back to the house, she was gone.
Yes, I went to work the following morning.
Went to work where? I thought you worked out of your home.
I work out of my van. My van is my mobile service.
I got you. You were out on the road.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And when you returned from being on the road that day, is that when you found that she was gone?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then 3 days later, she made an appearance?
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
It went horrible. She, like I said, come back demanding that Kyra and Jason leave. She didn't want them to be here no more. It was just a very toxic situation for everyone, for my children, constant fighting, arguing.
For how long did this go on?
I'll be honest with you, Your Honor, it was so long ago, I have a hard time remembering.
We talking hours, days, months, weeks?
Days.
Uh,
When she found out that I was trying to get a PPO against her, she packed and left and went to her dad's.
well, you were trying to get that PPO during that first 3 days that she was gone from the home, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what I want to focus is on after she came back to the home.
She found out that my mom knew about the PPO. She started a huge fight with my mom. When she left, she shoved my mom in the face. She threw coffee all over her and her car, threw stuff all over the yard, took my daughter kicking and screaming.
Well, let me stop you. Were you there for all of this, or did your mother tell you about this?
I was on my way home from work, trying drastically to get there. They called and said that she was here.
Okay. So when you got home, was Ms. Moore still there?
No, the police were here. They had just missed her.
Okay. And
My son, Andrew Moore, my mother, and my son's fiance all gave testimony to what happened.
they
Your Honor, I
told
would
the police
object.
officer.
I would object this off
Oh.
here and say he wasn't there.
You know that they made statements to the police. I don't need to know what the statements are. The fact that they made statements is not objectionable. So by the time you got back to the house, Ms. Moore was gone.
Yes, sir.
And did she ever attempt to return home, in a sense, move back into the home at any time after that?
No, sir.
All right, so this is still back in April of 2019, correct?
Correct.
But you didn't file divorce until December. What happened during that long period?
We were trying to work it out together to figure out what we could do to keep it civil, and despite my depth of trying, it could just never be that way.
What were you trying to work out?
Just trying to keep everything civil between us, because she's extremely uncivil, very argumentative, wants to fight all the time.
All right, let me ask a little different question. Were you trying to work out a reconciliation, or were you trying to work out just a way to communicate about the children and other issues involved in separating?
A way to communicate about the children and other issues involved.
All right, there wasn't an attempt to reconcile.
No, sir.
Okay, so she's living somewhere else from April onward. Do you know where she was living?
She's lived at her dad's. She's lived at her brother's. She stayed at a hotel for a little while, and now she's got a place in Eaton Rapids. She told me at one point in time that she was living in Grand Rapids.
So between April and when you filed for divorce in December, where did your children reside?
With me.
Was there any kind of parenting time where they would go and stay with their mother during that April to December period?
Yes, but very sporadically.
And tell me what you mean by very sporadically.
Just, you know, it wasn't something like set in stone. It was whenever she could or whenever she wanted them.
So that there wasn't a regular schedule?
No, we tried to work out a schedule, you know, week on, week off, because that's what I've always wanted it to be. But she ended up trying to keep Olivia. One time she told me she wasn't going to give her back. I ended up having to get the police involved. It just was always a horrible disagreement.
So prior to the altercation that you described, where you ended up out in the barn, how was your marriage?
Very rocky. Since we moved out of the trailer park into this home, you know, it's just progressively gotten worse. I mean, like I said, you know, her mother passed away. Unfortunately, my uncle passed away. It was a really hard time.
All right, so the behavior that you described on the incident where you ended up staying out in the garage with your son, although your marriage had been rocky, it hadn't been characterized by these kind of physical brawls that you described?
No, just Nicole is a very unhappy person. She has a very hard time dealing with her own emotions, and she lashes out at people drastically for little to no reason. She's just a very unreasonable person.
Prior to this incident where the police came to your home that you just described, had the police ever been called to your home before? Any home that you shared,
No, sir.
that you shared with Ms. Moore?
No, sir.
Has there ever been any kind of domestic violence between the two of you prior to the incident that you described?
I mean, we've been together for 20 years. We've been in many arguments, you know, but never like this.
So the first time there was any domestic violence was the incident you've already described to me.
No, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we've had shoving matches before in our younger years, you know, but nothing like this, nothing so drastic as to try to actually swing, you know. To have to call the cops, you know, just. I just want what's best for my children. I want what's best for my children's mother. I want her to be able to see her kids. I want my kids to be able to see her. I want them to have a good relationship. I don't want her putting things in my children's head when they come home and ask questions like, do you still love mommy? These are the problems that we're having today. You know, she's got a nice place in Eaton Rapids. She's got a good boyfriend that seems to be a really reasonable guy. I just want her to get her life straight and be a good mom and be a good person and be non-confrontational and respectful to other people's feelings. I just want what's best for my kids. They're the most important thing to me in the world.
What do you?
I want Nicole to be able to move on with her life and be happy, and I the same.
What do you think is best for your kids?
You know, right now I feel, you know, due to the changes and circumstances, you know, as you can see in the reports, you know, she's come out here and apologized to everyone and tried to ask forgiveness and make things right. And then she turns around and does the same thing again. I just can't trust the sporadic irregularities in her attitude and her confrontationalism, you know. And I just want her to get better.
So right now, you think what's best for your kids is that they spend most of their time with you and every other weekend with their mother?
Yes, at this point I do. I want to give her as much time as possible to see them, but I just feel as far as being able to manage a stable environment for them, that's something that I can do, and that's what I want for them. I spoke with Nicole to an extent of time yesterday. You know, she wanted me to just let her sign the judgment the way I had it written the last time she didn't want to do it. And I want to do that, but I don't want to do that because I can't trust that she's going to keep being civil. She keeps telling me she's going to be civil, and then she turns around and does the same thing again and again, causing problems, disruption. I mean, it's to the point where my son refuses to talk to her, and it breaks my heart. This is the last thing I ever wanted to happen for her and for my children.
Do you think the possibility that there's still a contested divorce, that things haven't been resolved, is a factor in why things aren't settling down?
No,
Okay.
no, it has nothing to do with the divorce. It was just, that's how she is. Unless she's in full control, she's going to fight tooth and nail.
Okay, so I want to make sure I ask you all of the necessary questions, because there are factors that I am required to make findings on. Let me ask you, how would you describe the love and affection and bond between you and each child?
Extremely intense. My children love me more than anything in the world, and I the same. And I'd like to add, it's the same for their mother. My children love their mother dearly, and I want that to stay the same. My son is very upset with her right now for all of her lies and deceit. She tells him one thing, she does another. She promises him one thing, she breaks it. And he's 16 years old. He's not a child anymore. He's a young man, and he understands the ways of the world and what's going on. And he's very heartbroken over it. It brings me to tears just thinking about it.
So currently he's refusing even to talk to his mother?
Yes, sir.
Do you know the last time they spoke?
It's been a couple months now. I'm sad to say.
Do you know when the last time an attempt was made by Ms. Moore to speak with her son?
I think she attempts regularly. He has her blocked, but she calls me and tells me to tell him that she loves him, and I do. And I give her the pictures that she wants him to see, and I'm doing the best I can.
Do you encourage him to go see his mother, to talk to her?
Very much.
And you would
she doesn't mean to do the things that she does. It's not in her power.
What does she do?
to act the way she acts, to fly off the handle and scream and yell and say hurtful things and do hurtful things. It's not something that she can control.
She does that to him? Is that what you're saying?
She does that to everyone, regardless of who it is.
What about your daughter's relationship with her mother?
They have a wonderful relationship, but like I said, she puts things in Olivia's head. My daughter comes home telling my girlfriend that she's not supposed to be here, that my daddy is supposed to love my mommy and my mommy's supposed to be here. These are things that my 3-year-old daughter at the time, almost 4-year-old daughter, would never say. Things that would never be in her head unless spoken to her. And this has continued throughout the entire ordeal. It gets good for a little while. You know, like I said, Nicole came out here and she apologized and she stayed a very good portion of the day here with her boyfriend. We all got along. We sat and hung out and talked, and she walked around the property and looked at all the animals and spent time with her kids. It was a wonderful time, something I would love to happen on a regular basis. But it's just a continuous drawback.
Okay, let me ask you.
Like I said, before we go any further, she called me last night telling me that Baranski had not gotten a hold of her, that he called her last night at the last minute, said he tried to get a hold of her for the last 3 days and had been trying to get a hold of me all day, which all of those statements were a lie. I had not received any email, not any phone call. And this was almost 5 o'clock in the afternoon that she called me with this, begging me to just sign the judgment the way it was so that she still had 50-50 of Olivia.
Negotiations that are not admissible. You know, I'm trying to be patient too, Your Honor, but he keeps bringing this up and it's not admissible and he should stop doing it.
Certainly.
I don't know what to say, Your Honor.
Certainly negotiations to a settlement aren't admissible. On the other hand, there were things included in what he said that sound like it's not a settlement negotiation. It was a one-way proposal or demand from your client. And in any event, Mr. Baranski, let me ask you, is there any room yet to resolve this matter short of spending, looks like the rest of today and probably more time in the future working, listening to testimony?
Well, I'm perfectly willing to talk to Mr. Moore if we can resolve something. I think that there's only one issue really that we need to discuss. I mean, is it possible? I mean, we could take a break, Your Honor, and see if that's something we could discuss. And I know the court does not want to be part of our negotiations, but I would think that we could do that.
No, I am willing, if you think you can make some headway, to take a pause so that you can talk. I don't want to hear from either one of you what that conversation is, but let me just back up for a second. I asked this question of you, Mr. Moore, because I know that the whole litigation process is adversarial. That's the very nature of it. It's adversarial. What we're doing here today is extremely adversarial. If there is any possibility of resolution, it's always better if you can resolve, as opposed to me dictating what's going to happen, which that's my job. I don't have a problem with that. And I'm not trying to avoid work, but it's an adversarial process, and adversarial processes end up in making adversaries. You've expressed to me in your testimony that you don't want it to be that way, and I believe you. You don't want it to be that way. I want to at least give you a chance to talk if you're willing to do that. And if you don't resolve, you don't resolve. I'm fine with that. Just don't tell me what you talked about.
Well, this is the way I feel about it, Your Honor. I've made more than a dozen attempts to resolve this with her. And I feel like, unfortunately, without your help, there's no resolution with her.
And that may very well be, sir. All I'm saying is, and I'm willing to do it, but sounds like Mr. Baranski is willing to talk. It certainly sounds like Ms. Moore is willing to talk based on her contact with you last night. You may not make any headway. I think it's at least worth the effort.
Can I say something? Am I allowed to? Can I say something?
Go ahead.
Last night, Jason and I had discussed that no matter what happened, he didn't want to take our kids from me. That he would still, everything would still be the exact same as it is now. That I'd be getting my daughter week on, week off.
All right. I don't want to hear any more about that.
That's my advice you're taking.
I didn't know what you were going to say, but yeah, I don't want to get into that. That's not proper material for me to be making a decision on. But that is certainly stuff that you can talk about. And if you can talk about it and resolve it amicably as opposed to adversarially, which is what I will do, it's worth the effort. And I'll just sit tight. I'll give you however much time you need. I can put you in what's called a private meeting room. You're going to have to, I'll hang up the phone. You will have a chance to talk. And at any point, either one of you wants to stop talking and come back into court and continue with this process, I will be here patiently waiting for that to happen. I'm not suggesting we stop this today. I'm suggesting we take a little time out, a little break, let you talk, see if there's any room for resolution. If there's not, we bring you back and we continue on. That's all I'm suggesting.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. Mr. Moore, I'm going to hang up the phone call.
Okay.
And it probably will work better, just like it did in court. You'll be able to see each other in this private waiting room, okay? But I won't be able to see you, and I won't be able to hear you. And as soon as either one of you is done, you can opt out of that, and it'll bring you right back in here. I will stop the recording process, so we're not recording nothing going on. But I will keep my meeting room open, and you'll just be in a private meeting room where the only people that'll be able to see and hear what's going on are the three of you. Okay?
Thank you, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Going to do that right now. I got to assign you to this room.
I'm going to take us off the record now, Your Honor.
Yes, you can take us off the record now. Okay, I'm going to hang up the phone, and you should get a message on your screen telling you what to do.
I have it, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome.